It's another Thunder Thursday on News OK Live. I'm Mike Sherman with Thunder beat writer emeritus Darnell Mayberry and sports web editor Darnell Mayberry. It's not just any Thunder Thursday, though. It's the Thursday of Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Tonight in Oakland, Darnell, it's the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder have a 3-1 lead, the chance to wrap it all up. The Golden State Warriors, however, still think they're that team that won 73 games in the regular season. Darnell, let's just start there. Is this the same Warrior team? It doesn't even look like it.
It's the same Warrior team, but they're playing a different team in the Thunder. And I think that's the big difference. They've never faced a healthy, talented team like the Thunder, and to me, that's their biggest issue. Some of the shots that those guys take, they worked in the regular season, but that's not working against this Thunder team with this length, this athleticism, this much talent. When you talk about Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, you got Dion Waiters, who has stepped up his game tremendously, Steven Adams, who's done the same thing. So to me, yes, this is the same Warriors team. They're not playing as well as they played in the regular season, but the difference is the Thunder team that they're facing now is just so much better than anything that they faced in the last two seasons, especially in the postseason last year.
Darnell, let's take it like this. Whenever they do test scores, they rank the highest test scores and they rank percent change. In other words, they give a distinction for those who improved the most. Let's look at the Thunder's most improved. Take it from their meetings with the Warriors during the regular season until now. Rank your top, from top high to low, let's go 3 or 4, the most improved Thunder players since their regular season meetings with the Warriors.
I'll probably say, Steven Adams has been so good that I'd probably put him at the top of the list, with Dion Waiters maybe being a close second because he was so erratic. Steven Adams was just solid all season, but he's really taken his game to another level. He's become a double-double machine and a tremendous defender, both in the paint and on the perimeter. So Steven Adams, I would say, has gone from good to borderline great, if not great. Dion Waiters went from inconsistent, erratic, to really, really good on both ends this postseason. So to me, those would be my top two. I would put Andre Robertson in that mix as well, probably as the third guy. He's really stepped up his game, and offensively what he's done this postseason, especially in the last 5 games or 3 of the last 5 games, getting double figures, has just been phenomenal.
Before we get back to Robertson, I need to remind everybody that our Thunder playoff coverage is brought to you by J. Marshall Square, Oklahoma City's only big house apartment community, thanks to the folks at J. Marshall Square. Darnell, let's talk about Robertson. So, you know how it is. When that ball starts going in the basket, everybody gets more enthusiastic about getting back and playing defense. Slapping fours, D'ing up.
Yep.
But now we have a guy who always is enthusiastic about defense, and now his shots are going in. I see even a difference in the level of defense and the level of effort that even Robertson is giving. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and I think it's across the board, really. And that's what this Thunder team has had to do to really put themselves in a position to have this 3-1 lead on the Warriors and get this far in the postseason, even getting past San Antonio. Everyone has had to step up their level of intensity, their level of commitment on both ends. You've seen that with Kevin Durant. You've seen that with Russell Westbrook and what he's doing on Steph Curry. And Andre Robertson, and go back to the Spurs series and what he's done against Kawhi Leonard and those guys, he's been phenomenal defensively in this postseason, and then offensively what he's doing in terms of not just making three-pointers, but also slashing, cutting, moving without the ball, making himself a threat on offense too.
What changed? We know what changed. We've seen the change. We've seen everybody's effort. Why now? You've been there since the start. You were there when the Mavericks took them out. Mm-hmm. And the Mavericks took them out, put the dagger in their heart with that blown 15-point lead in the last 5 minutes. No ball movement, sketchy defense. You were there when the Spurs took them out, when the Heat took them out. All of those were little opportunities to repent and start playing defense. There were sins committed against defense last year, but really no ability to correct them just because. Why did it happen now?
I don't know, but why couldn't it happen when I was still on the beat? How about that? It's funny that now they're all of a sudden playing this way. I sort of lost faith in them. I didn't think that they would ever get it, but they have, and you have to give them a lot of credit. I think one thing could be that some of the young guys are coming into their own. Steven Adams and Andre Robertson now in their third seasons. They're really starting to figure out what their roles are. I mean, they've always sort of known their roles, but I think they're really excelling at their roles now. Kevin Durant, he had the foot injury. I mean, you got to mention the injuries. That's why one of the reasons they weren't able to get back to the finals. But also, I think the free agency, you can't ignore that. Kevin Durant's upcoming free agency, the fact that this could be this team's last chance, I think that has a lot to do with everyone having a sense of urgency. Billy Donovan coming in, I don't think you can discredit what he's done in terms of instilling some better habits into this team, ball movement, defensive discipline, and a better disposition. All of these different things are really combining to put the Thunder team that you see now on the floor. And I think Russell Westbrook has really been the leader in terms of his overall level of play and what he's brought to the team as well.
Let's talk about Donovan. So it's interesting, he was one of the last things you brought up. But we have a tendency to segment defense, almost like we're talking, or basketball, like we're talking about football or baseball. You know, you got your glove on when you go play defense, and there's a defensive unit and an offensive unit in football. But no, this changes like within seconds.
Right.
And the old offense, great defense becomes your offense. Well, that cliche comes around. Scott Brooks talked about it. The Thunder announcers talk about it, infinitum. But is it possible that Billy Donovan brought those two things together, which are always together, and separating them is the falsehood? The reality is offense and defense together. I'm wondering if Donovan brought them together in a new and a different way for this team to understand and grasp.
I would give more credit to the players in that sense, because I can't give it all to Billy Donovan, or else we would have seen it in the regular season consistently. Now, they had some guys in and out of the lineup this season. He was new. This was his first season. So there's a adjustment period that you have to naturally take when you have a new coach. But the players, I think, really just took it upon themselves to finally, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, they've bought in and they've decided to buckle down defensively in this postseason, and you're seeing them get it done on that end of the floor.
Okay, let's go back to another point you made about that. Although I think Donovan, his communication skills are at an elite level. They might not be as high as his tactical competence, but they're high.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to another one. You talked about younger players moving into roles. Steven Adams, Andre Robertson. Before, the defensive disposition. Yeah, disposition, not deposition.
Yeah.
Okay, the defensive disposition came from elder statesmen, okay? It came from Kendrick Perkins, some from Nazir Muhammad.
Derek Fisher when he was here,
Nick Collison. Nick Collison. These were always old guys telling the young ones that they needed to straighten up and fly right, okay? And no matter how tough Perk is, sometimes you just hear it and you kind of roll your eyes.
Right.
In fact, we know they rolled their eyes, maybe not in his face, but on the court, right? But now all of a sudden, the defensive energy, some of the know-how, some of the want-to is coming from the youngers. Is there any chance that these older guys now, Westbrook, Durant, decided we can't let these young guys sort of show us up? We can't let their effort be so strong and ours be lacking.
Yeah, I think so, especially with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. I mean, those two guys are sort of criticized more than anyone when it comes to the defensive end, specifically the defensive end. We all know what they can do offensively, but it's the consistent effort that we haven't seen from those two guys on the defensive end that we've always wanted to see, and now in this postseason we're seeing it. That block Kevin Durant had the other night on Sean Livingston, he closes out on Draymond Green, makes a great recovery, and goes right back up and blocks Sean Livingston at the rim. That's the type of stuff that you saw glimpses of in the regular season, but you just didn't see it consistently. And now I think the sense of urgency has given these guys that desire, that commitment to be able to do it consistently.
Well, the Steven Adams getting out on Patty Mills, getting back in, sort of like a duck in the shooting gallery, bing, bing. The Thunder's always talking about that second and third effort was really characterized by Thabo Sefolosha for a lot of years. He was that guy. No, you're right. We're seeing it from Kevin Durant. We're seeing it from Russell. Russell has, I was going to make a point. It looks to me, Darnell, and I'm reminded of this, Kevin's defensive effort reminds me of the very first playoff series against the Lakers when he took Kobe in these games back in Oklahoma City. His shot wasn't falling. It was one of his worst, maybe the worst offensive series he's ever had in the playoffs. But the way the Thunder was winning in that series was to guard the heck out of Kobe Bryant, and Durant did it. I haven't seen him play defense like that since then.
Yeah.
And the ball watching technicality, the techniques are gone too.
He did it a little bit on Kawhi Leonard down the stretch of that Spurs series.
True.
And that was big time in terms of helping them get out of that series. But one other thing that I would say, Mike, is that these guys have always taken the challenge when they're going against other star players. Whenever there's someone in front of them that they feel like they have something to prove against, they always step up their level of play, and I think that's what we're seeing against this Golden State Warriors team. Stephen Curry is the back-to-back MVP. Some people say he's now better than Kevin Durant. Some people call him the best player in the world. So Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, he has both of their attentions. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, two guys who are all-stars this year. You're talking about three-point contest champions in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So these guys have, and not to mention they're NBA champions, 73 wins record for a regular season. These guys have something the Thunder wants. And Steve Kerr talked about that yesterday, I believe. He said, we have something they want, and they want to come get it. They're desperate right now. And I think that's what the Thunder is doing. They see those guys, and they're envious of them, and they're taking the challenge of them and trying to go out and really stick it to them, basically.
Russell Westbrook has conditioned us to expect triple doubles.
Right.
Where does the one he posted in Game 4 rank? I mean, the list is long. Every day we look up, there's another Oscar Robertson, Magic Johnson, sometimes Larry Bird comparison. But that game, that triple-double the other night, how explosive it was, the rebound, the going up and snatching the rebounds, the frozen moments in that really made that game. Where does that one rank among his best?
I mean, it was his fifth, I believe, playoff triple-double. I would put it right there at the top. You're talking about a 73-win Golden State Warriors team. You're talking about the two-time MVP in Steph Curry. You're talking about essentially a must-win for the Thunder, because if they had lost that, they would have lost home court advantage in Game 4, going back to Oakland for Game 5. And if they win that, it basically becomes the Warriors' advantage again, and that could not happen if the Thunder wanted to get out of this series. Now, the series still isn't over, but I think they really needed to win that game to have a chance, their best chance at winning this series. And Russell Westbrook was just phenomenal. Kevin Durant got off to a hot start, but scoring the ball, but Russell Westbrook really came in and took over that game offensively. He was setting up people, you mentioned the rebounds, and then scoring at will. So I think that was his best playoff triple-double of all time.
The corner three that he hit in the first half.
Oh, boy.
The corner, and you know what? That's not a shot that he's known for. How about the little pass-off dunk he did? I'm getting my games confused. Was that Game 3 or Game 4 where the ball's inbounded, it swings to KD. Westbrook throws it in, slides to the corner, I guess they thought, and then slides in for that two-handed dunk. It seems like he's really, let's just say it, he's harnessed.
Yeah.
He's harnessed the energy, the talent, and now he's a different player.
He is, and that's to me the most impressive thing about him. There were so many questions about him, not just when he was coming into the league. Can he be a point guard? Is he a natural point guard? But also, when he became a perennial all-star, there were still questions about whether he could ever flip the switch and play under control enough to lead this team to a championship. I've had people throughout the league tell me, and they still tell me to this day, that they don't think the Thunder is ever going to win a championship with Russell Westbrook at point guard. I think it's time to revisit those opinions.
Hey, speaking of that, Darnell, I had a great idea for a post. When and if this team ever won a championship. I almost said state championship. Isn't that funny? Oklahoma. Okay. What if we made a list, a long one, of all the things that we heard that weren't going to happen?
It'd be a great exercise. There's so many things that people have said about this Thunder team. 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I don't know, people had Kevin Durant on the first thing smoking out of town. Now, all of a sudden, that narrative has changed. Everyone thinks Kevin Durant's going to re-up here in Oklahoma City and be here for the long haul, because where was he going to go? San Antonio? Well, they just beat them.
Golden State?
They're up 3-1. So why beat them, or why join them if you can beat them? and there's no point in Kevin Durant leaving if he is proven that he can beat these teams with what he has here in Oklahoma City.
It is a long list. Not going to stay in a small market, this, that, and the other thing. If this was a mistake, that was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Donovan's a college coach. I mean, it's long.
Kyle Singler still sticks.
There's a few. Okay, let's go to Game 5, Darnell, tonight, 8 o'clock, TNT. Tonight, Kevin Durant said, did you hear what he said today?
About his defense?
About his defense.
Yeah.
The reason he's doing it is because the games are on TNT.
Yeah. No, not that he's doing it because he said people are noticing.
People are noticing.
The games are on
Okay.
TNT, which I disagree with. I mean, Kevin was not consistent in the regular season, and for that reason, I mean, rightfully so, he was being criticized. People didn't take notice, but he has really stepped it up. TNT or anything else. I mean, he's played great defense.
Okay, the old theory, the desperate team at home, comes into play tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Thunder, you could make the argument in Game 4 that the Thunder was the most desperate team because if this series would have gotten tied up at 2-2, it's a best-of-3 series with Golden State holding 2 of the games. So the desperate team won at home. Let's just go with that theory. Is that what's going to happen tonight?
I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Golden State. I mean, I don't really agree with a lot of the tough talk that's coming out of them. Draymond Green saying that, the guy he saw on film the last 2 games is not the guy he knows and he's never going to see that guy again. Well, Kevin Durant has a lot to say about that, and that length and that athleticism is really bothering Draymond Green. The Maurice Spates tweet that the world has never seen a 73-win team, the world has never seen a back-to-back or unanimous MVP, not back-to-back, a unanimous MVP in Steph Curry. This team is not done yet. I mean, it's easy for those guys to talk. I think they have a certain level of arrogance about them, and rightfully so in some ways. But again, they've never faced a talented team like the Thunder that's been healthy in the postseason, and I think they're up against a different animal. But if I was a betting man, I'd bet on Golden State tonight because they are desperate. The Thunder knows that they've got Game 6 at home, and so if things don't go well tonight, they've got another crack at it at home. But if I'm Billy Donovan, I'm telling my guys, let's try to get this thing over as soon as possible because if you come back here in Game 6, if you don't get it done tonight, Golden State could come in here and win, and then they've got Game 7 on their home floor, and all bets are off at that point. It's suddenly a one-game series.
The last team to win a Game 7 in the NBA on the other team's court, you know who it is?
Who?
The 1979 Washington Bullets. How about that?
Be still my heart.
In Seattle. Okay, Darnell, we've talked about the emotion of it. Because right now what we're saying is this desperate team at home factor, that's the emotional reason why look out for the Warriors tonight. However, as we start doing the matchups, we start drawing big lineup, advantage Oklahoma City. Now all of a sudden the lineup of death is the lineup of a bad cold or a cold and flu season. It's not killing anybody.
Right.
Might make you sick, but it's making the Warriors sick more than anybody else. So tactically, tell me where the Warriors mount a rally. Where's the matchup? What's something for them to hold on to and use tonight against the Thunder?
I just think the fact that they had 20-some-odd turnovers in Game 4, they didn't play their brand of basketball. And if you're the Warriors, you look at it and you say, okay, Steph Curry and Draymond Green were awful in Game 4. We're going to be at home now. We're going to have more confidence. We're going to be more comfortable. We're not going to turn it over as much. We're not going to be sloppy with the ball. We're going to make shots in our home gym. And I think those two guys, they're all-stars for a reason. Steph Curry is back-to-back MVP for a reason. What we saw here in Oklahoma City in Game 4 is not who those guys are. And I think more than anything that's tactical or schematic, I think those guys getting back to who they are at home is probably what you can bank on if you're a Warriors fan.
For the Thunder, of course, disrupting that has been the story of the playoffs, the story of this series. Darnell, what if? I mean, now I'm trying to imagine this. I think I've got the Thunder tonight. I had the Thunder, by the way, and you're my witness.
Before the series, you had Thunder in
6.
6? Okay.
Okay,
so now you're saying Thunder in 5, they're going to get it done tonight.
Well, I just look at who's the better team? I've watched this for 4 games, and I can't find a scenario where I now think the Warriors are the better team. However, I'd be concerned about a slow start for the Thunder. Think of it this way. Thunder gets off to one of those, or even a bad ending to the first half that doomed them in game 2. I worry about this, and this is what happens in the NBA. Teams get behind 18, 19 points, and 18, 19 points is like a bad minute against the Golden State Warriors if they start one of those 3-point frenzies. We've seen it. What happens? I think over 4 quarters, the Thunder's a better team. But what if the Thunder gets 3.5 quarters into this and it doesn't look good, and you got 2 more games, which I don't, you make the point. Oklahoma City doesn't really have 2 more games past tonight. What they have is one
more game.
And then it's just, dear Lord. Can you
How
imagine?
did we get here?
How do we get it? Can you imagine? So perish that thought for Oklahoma City fans, but tonight's danger zone to me is a good Warriors start, sustained, leading into the 3 quarters when you're down 18, and somebody says, and maybe I don't expect Billy Donovan or any of his staff to say this, but in that mind of the player, just who's been getting out on 3-point shots, who's been given those second and third efforts on possession, what if they think, well, we always got Saturday night?
That's the thing that you cannot do. You have to try to take care of this thing as soon as possible. And the thing that worries me or concerns me about the Thunder going into tonight is that the margin of error is so small against the Golden State Warriors. You mentioned some of those surges they can go on a minute, 2 minutes. Steph Curry had, 15 straight points in a little under 2 minutes?
Minute and a half or something.
They're unbelievably explosive. And if you just have a little slippage, they can turn a 4-point game into a 14-point game. They can turn that 14-point game into a 24-point game. And next thing you know, you're out of the game and you're looking forward to the next one. So that to me concerns me about the Thunder. And when that Oracle Arena crowd is rocking like they always are, especially like they're going to be tonight, sort of similar to what we saw in Game 4 here at the Peak, all of those second and third efforts that the players normally give, well, it becomes harder to give those second and third efforts when you're on the road and everything's going against you and the crowd's in it and the players are making shots. So I'm concerned if the Thunder has any slippage whatsoever tonight, the Warriors could run away with it. We haven't seen much slippage out of the Thunder since that Mavs series. And I think they've really turned the corner in terms of focus, in terms of discipline. But this Warriors team, I don't think they're going to just lay down. I mean, they're going to come out there and put up a fight tonight.
Let's end it with one last question. Of course, the Golden State Warriors from the podium says, Steve Kerr said it, Steph Curry sort of said it, he's not injured. Yeah. Hours later, our good friend Adrian Wojnarowski says a Golden State Warriors source says he's 70%. If that's true, they're done.
Oh, yeah.
They're done. It's over in 5 games. If what Adrian wrote, and so many Golden State is not just hinging their excuses, what are they going to say if he comes out and scores 15 points in a minute and a half tonight? Mm-hmm. That the meter went up to 85%? What is it, like my air conditioning on my car? I go get AC Pro, hook it up to Steph Curry, and now all of a sudden it's blowing back at 100%? Doesn't work like that. Why would they put that out? To me, if I was a Golden State Warrior fan, I would be very concerned to ask myself, why did the organization put that out after Game 4? Are they trying to get me ready for the idea that Game 5 is going to be a head kicking again?
Well, I don't think anyone's going in the Oracle Arena and giving the Warriors a head kicking. But it was interesting to see that they came out with that he's 70% at best.
At best.
At best.
I forgot the at best part.
At best. What were they saying in Game 2 when he scored 17 straight points?
Not that.
We didn't hear anything about an injury then. So now all of a sudden he comes out and has an awful Game 4 and he's 70% at best. So I didn't like the timing of when that came out. It sounded like an excuse, and then the Warriors acted like they didn't know anything about it. Steve Kerr, Steph Curry. I think he is a little banged up, but Tom Haberstroh from ESPN.com came out with something today. It said, if he is, it doesn't look like it because he's moving at a faster pace now than he has at any point this season. So to say that he's 70% at best doesn't really fly when you look at the numbers and how he's moving on the floor.
You know what this reminds me of, Darnell? Back when Randy Johnson was in his heyday, left-handed hitters would always come down with the flu when they were going to have to face Randy Johnson. They were always not 100%, so they could sit it out and let right-handed hitters face Randy Johnson. Nobody these days is 100% against Russell Westbrook.
That's right.
Hey, a reminder, our Thunder playoff coverage, of course, is brought to you by J. Marshall Square, Oklahoma City's only big house apartment community. Thanks a lot to J. Marshall Square for this. And this is Thunder Thursday. You can stay with the best coverage team anywhere, every day at News OK, and every morning in the Oklahoman. Enjoy Game 5.